Holly Cotton here, and you guys know I love, love, love anything that has to do with community. So, whenever I was at, I forgot what event it was, but it was a community event, and I had one of I guess, the members of this organization reach out to me about talking about their mission, how they're doing things in the community, how they're being the change. I was like, yes, let's hear the story. I love those feel good stories. And I love whenever I hear people that are actually living and being the change. So I don't want to mess his name up. So you guys know I actually printed it out so I can say it correctly. Captain Tazaryak, and he is going to tell us all about his organization, ISUPK. And we're going to talk about some of the things that they're doing in the community and as well as some of the missions. And then also, he's going to give us a little bit of the foundation because there's also a religious side of it as well. And he's going to explain to us all of that. So, welcome, Captain Tazaryak.
You did the name pretty good. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
I got a little southern twang, so that accent sometimes messes up me being able to say things like I can't roll my tongue and do certain things.
Right.
I don't know why. Blame my Louisiana roots. So that Creole part.
No, that's okay. That
Okay,
was just fine.
thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. All right. So, first of all, let's go into because I want to actually just start with the general idea of what the organization is. What do you guys do? ISUPK, tell us what that is and I guess what the foundation of it is.
Okay, so ISUBK is an acronym for Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and the foundation for everything we do is the Bible. Like we believe in God, we believe in Christ, and so we try to utilize that to go into communities to provide a service or do things for them that probably is not as easily accessible. Or if it's there, we can add to whatever is already being there. Because there's a lot of things that people do for communities. So we're one of the ones that like to join in and assist people and help within the community, whether it be childcare, whether it be educational, rehabilitation, food, clothing, sometimes we even go to prisons and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things that we try to address in Black and Hispanic communities, or any community for that matter. So when we do them, anybody can come to us, and if we have something that can provide a service for them, we provide that service for them.
So, one of the questions that I want to ask before we go into that is because I know that I get in these conversations a lot of times, especially whenever it's election season like it is now, but
Mhm.
I do have conversations with people that sometimes get heated when we start talking about resources for minorities and everyone kind of gets, I don't know, I don't want to say standoffish, but sometimes it is standoffish, might be the right
Mhm.
word. But a lot of people, they are almost insulted whenever you're talking about resources that are focusing on minorities. And I know, like you said, you guys are out there, you're talking specifically African Americans, Hispanics, brown people, right?
Right.
So I try to explain that a lot of times when I'm in these majority situations
Right.
and I'm trying to explain to them that yes, it is important for minorities to have representation because every time you look somewhere, it's always someone that's white, that's the president, that's in this political office. There's resources for this, there's this. So it's always like a catch up. It's always, well, how are we
Right.
doing this? How are we trying
Right.
to empower these minority communities? So I know for you guys, there's got to be where you're hearing that type of thing where people are like, well, why are you just focusing on black and brown communities? Why are you not doing stuff for everyone? And I know, even though you said all the resources, but you are definitely trying to be out there in those minority communities. So is that something that you guys get any type of negative feedback from, or do you ever have to explain why that mission is so important?
Yeah, we get that the same way in your circles, you get that type of feedback. We get that type of feedback. And the answer is generally always the same. Like, brown people are not prioritized. Like, we always get the tail end, or we always get the crumbs. And then it can almost, it can go down on your ability to achieve. What I mean by that is, if brown people or black and brown people in general always see everybody else get resources and then we get the tail end. Where's their where's their inspiration at? If they know in their community they just gonna be last, they just look at it. Well, I'm gonna just wait till I get mine. I might as well because I ain't gonna get it first. So now, if they can see people that can prioritize them, and we'll specifically say, no, we're coming to you first. Everybody else can get a second, and then we look like them at the same time. You can inspire hope where they can say, you know what, there is somebody that prioritizes me. There is somebody that thinks about me. And whenever you're in the major circles, they'll never understand it because most of the time they're not those people. So because they're not those people, of course, those people are not going to be a priority to them. Their people that look like them is going to be a priority,
Hmm.
and I don't have a problem with that. It just don't get in the way when I want to prioritize my
Right.
people, and when we want to get out there and say, no, this ain't for y'all today. I know y'all had it
Mhm.
for 364 days. Just let us have this one day. And it's like we can't even get that. We can't even get that one day without. Dang,
If it
y'all
ain't
got to
in
get a day.
February, then yeah, if it ain't in February, they don't care.
Right, they don't even want to count it. And then even February is like the shortest month, so they you can't even don't get them that 29th day, or don't get them that 30th, or every fourth year you get that
Right.
29th day. So it's amazing that it's like that. But just because it's like that don't mean we can't overcome that, which is why even when we're out there doing it, we don't even try to say, hey, nobody else is going to do it, so here we are. We really want to do it without
Mhm.
having to bring up that side, so that their mind can be free that this ain't done in spite of, this is done because we are black and brown, because you look like me and we're all in despair and are low. We can now present something to you that you'll say, man, thank you, man. These brothers, these sisters, they came together and did this for me, and it was wonderful.
I love that. I love that. I just wanted to ask that because I know it's like the more you push for minority programs, it's like the more negative feedback you get of, well, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to focus on these communities? So I was just getting someone's opinion about it.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So let's go into, again, I know that you guys, so we talked about the religion part. Okay, food
Mhm.
and clothing drive. I have a whole list, you guys. His assistant sent me like 82 topics, so I'm trying to find which
Like
one
where
I'm
you can
going.
fit it in at, right? Like,
I
okay, we
know.
got to
I'm
talk
like,
about this.
wait a
We
minute.
gonna
Let
do
me look at
this.
my
Where we gonna
to
fit it? Right.
my to-do list. Okay. All right. So to Zoriac, right? To Zoriac. Okay. All
Look
right.
at
Okay.
you, Rocket. That's 3 times. I was counting. Look at you.
Okay. That's the last time I'm saying it today, though. So whenever you're talking about minority resources, and like you said, you were indicating that there are things where you're saying, hey, these are some of the things that we're doing. These are the way that we want you guys to emulate this, or these are the things that we're trying to do to make a change. And I know one thing I always say when I go and I speak to panels and do stuff is that sometimes you don't know a thing is a thing until you see someone doing it. And
Right.
so people will say, well, why are you posting that? Or why can't you just help homeless people without saying something? Or can't you just be a good person without showing a video for it? Or why does it have to be broadcasted? And I try to explain to people that people don't know something is a thing unless they're seeing it. So you may not know that you need to go hand out food to homeless people or people that need it, or you may not know that you need to go into these populations. So what are some of the things that you guys are trying to show everyone in the community, and then of course around the world, period, because
Mhm.
that's what we have, a global fan base on
Right.
Holly Cotton Conversations. So for around the world, we want to show people these are some of the things that we're doing in communities that we want you to try and adopt and do that in your community as well. So what are some of those community things that you're doing?
So, Christ said to let your light shine. And we live in a great social media world where a lot of the promotion is done socially. It's not necessarily done by word of mouth anymore. Word of mouth is like slow. Whereas the minute you do something and you post it, you can reach thousands of people as opposed to word of mouth. You're only going to reach maybe 10. And so now let's say if you're in Houston or if you're in New York and you make that post, all of the people in New York City can see exactly what you're doing. And it's not something that you're doing for yourself. You're doing it for the people you're working for, because you're what they would call a community activist. So as a community activist, the community has to know what you're doing. So that's why you would promote it that way. So some of the things that we do, what we do weekly is a food and clothing drive. Like I know my brothers that are down there in Texas that you met, they work with Walmart. So they actually can go to Walmart. Walmart gives them food, clothing, toiletries, water, whatever it may be, and then they can take that back to a community that may not be able to afford it and then give it to them. We do that in New York. This past Saturday, I was just doing that in Harlem, New York. We do that everywhere. Um, so that's like one of the things. And then food is always good because people are always hungry, unfortunately. And then clothing. You'd be surprised how many mothers or children don't have diapers or don't have small toddler type of clothes. So we'll gather like all of our old clothes, bring them together, and then go to where we feel those clothes are needed. Like we'll be in Buffalo, New York this week, and we all gather in all our clothes because, we have children, and one thing about mothers, they keep the baby clothes. So we'll say mothers, there's another mother that needs your baby clothes, and so we're able to do that. So those are the things that we do because that's almost like an immediate need because
Hmm.
everybody, you have financial burdens, especially ever since COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs, so we need to be able to provide those services. So those are some services. We go into the prisons to rehabilitate them because if you take if someone commits a crime, I don't condone a crime, of course, but if you don't offer them any type of alternative, 9 times out of 10 they're going to come out and commit the same crime. Number one, they got to strike, especially if it's a felony. It's going to be hard for them to get work. So we have to change their thought process. We have to change the way that they think. So when they come back into society, they have a thing called institutionalized, where you can become institutionalized, where you used to this box, you're used to this way of life, you're used to this, and then when you come out and you can move around and you're not prepared for it, you can go back into the same cycle. So we really try to work on rehabilitating black relations with black relations, brown relations with brown relations. So that way, when they come out, we can communicate and care about our community. I hope I answered your question.
I Yes, no, I love that because whenever you were talking, I just had the scene from oh my god, Red and Andy, and he goes restroom break, boss, restroom break, boss.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What is that? I can't. I got a brain fart. The movie. I can't even think of the
You're
movie.
not
You
talking
know what
about
I'm talking?
life, right?
No, 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 no. It's the movie. So it's the white guy. It's with Morgan Freeman.
Shawshank Redemption.
Thank you. I was like,
Yes.
I knew it had an R in
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
When he came and was working in the supermarket.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he's like restroom break boss because he was so
Mm-hmm.
institutionalized, he didn't know how to function outside of that. So
Right.
yeah, and then you have people that are I have people on my show all the time that were falsely incarcerated. I
Right.
just had a guy, he was on death row for 30 years. He
Right.
wasn't even in the same city. And then he got out and they gave him like $500 or something like that. And he's like,
Oh, it's
you took
crazy.
30 years of my life away. I've never even used a cell phone before. And now you give me like this amount of money. And you're like, okay, sorry, go live your life
It
now.
don't
And
make up for them 30 years. We have a
mhm.
program for expungement, exoneration and expungement. I'm glad you mentioned that because we do that too. Because like you said, a lot of us, like people won't recognize that black people are the number one falsely arrested and convicted people in America. That's even per capita because we are. And then so now you take that person, he comes out, he can't get a job because he was falsely convicted. So we created a program also that helps people get their record expunged or clean, and in some cases get you exonerated as well. So we do that also.
That's awesome. I love that. That's huge. Yeah, I didn't even know until I started working in like all of these political
Hmm.
parts that I'm in now, and I'm thinking, wow. I'm in with all of these, like the parole exonerated, all
Hmm.
of that, and I'm thinking, wow, I didn't even know this was a thing. I'm so entitled in life where I didn't even know I didn't even have access to that or know that
Right.
that was even going on. So, and I have a son, so I'm always like, let me tell you something, when you ain't with Holly Cotton, they don't look at you as Holly Cotton's son,
Right.
okay? Like
Right.
you think you light skin can only get you so far because they don't see you as that. You gonna be behind
Right.
under
Because
the
you
jail.
got to move right, and you got to move careful Otherwise, like you
Mhm.
said, you'll be caught up. And that's what they be waiting to do to us if we're not sharp. If we're not, like Christ said, you got to be
Mhm.
wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. So you got to be sharp with what you're doing. Hmm.
I yes, I agree. I agree. So I actually that kind of segues into the next question that I was thinking because when I introduced you and when I started talking about all the things that you were doing in the community, I know that you generally spoke about you guys being a religious organization and teaching from the Bible, and obviously your name is a very
Right,
religious name when
right,
you start talking about Israelites.
right.
So I'm Southern Baptist. I know I grew up with the revivals every
I grew up
weekend, so
Christian. Yeah, I grew up Christian.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. So so what I wanted to ask you about is because whenever you start looking at religion or religious, I guess I don't even want to say sex, but it is kind of like
Right. I
religious sect.
understand.
And yeah, so when you're talking about people and they have religion that's not just general Christianity, it's very hard for people to understand the aspects of a religion, and they refer to it as a cult, or they think that anything not speaking of Jesus is the Messiah and Revelations and Genesis and anything that comes between it, then it's not really
Right.
Jesus per se,
Right.
right? So people get confused. And what I wanted to ask you, because you guys all have very different names
Mhm.
of obviously because I was struggling to pronounce yours. But how does it happen? How is the organization set up whenever you're talking about that aspect of it? So are people reaching out and saying, "Hey, I want to be part of the church,"
Mhm.
and then is there an initiation process with that? And then how are you guys, or is the name being changed, sort of like emulating when we're talking about people that are Muslim?
Mhm.
Give us some more information about the actual religion part of it.
Okay, that's actually an excellent question. And then for all of Holly Cotton's listeners, we definitely believe in Jesus Christ. He is our Messiah. He is our King. Like he said, blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We care about the poor because Christ cared about the poor. Um, so from an organizational perspective, we do have like, I don't want to call it initiation, but we call it a school, not a church. But church would just be the people. So they would be the same thing to us. So like the church is the people. Like Christ said, when two are gathered in my name, there my presence is felt. So we just say the school. That's why our acronym is Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. So if when you say that when we out there uh giving out food and stuff like that, we'll have a flyer. So we'll have like a flyer. Back in the days, we used to have the big piece of paper, but now we just have like a little business card. And what that business card does, it'll have the information, it'll have the dynamic of people that we're focused on, which are blacks and Hispanics. It'll have the address or phone number that you can call, and then we'll say, come to class. So let's say if someone comes to class, or if I go to class, my born name is Tyree Gas. That's what I was born as, right? So if I come to class, that's how I come to class, as Tyree Gas. And so as I'm coming to class for the 90 days, like a 90-day trial, see how consistent a brother or sister is coming to class. And if when you join the school or when you pick, you get what's called a Hebrew name. So the Hebrew name is biblical. Like Abraham was first Abram, his name was changed to Abraham. Or Jacob's name was first Jacob, it was changed to Israel. Even Peter is called Simon. Paul was Saul. The name change is synonymous with your spirit changing to serve God. Or like Christ said, being born again. So that would be like our born again marker. So Tyree Gas dies spiritually and then Tazaryak is born. And then even the name that you're given just describes your spirit. So my name means stronghold or castle. So when they looked at me, they said he could be a defender for Christ. Or he could be a defender for God. Another brother's name might be something different. Another sister's name is different. It's all just based on your spirit. And then once you become a member for a man, you would be called what's called a trooper. As a trooper, you're still learning to change your ways to serve God and stuff like that. And then there's a point in time where you become an officer. So you have to pass a test. So you have to actually know the Bible, or know the, certain subjects of the Bible you would have to know. Once you pass that, you become an officer. Now you can teach. So we can't even teach until we
Mm,
get to that point. And then there's levels. So you have an officer, you have a captain, you have generals. So depending on the work that you put in is how you get raised up to certain levels of rank within the school. So that's how we
mm.
function.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you, how did you become captain? What did you do?
So me personally, so I do a lot of debating.
Give us give us the information. We wanna know how, because we wanna be the general. What we gotta do to be the general?
Well, rank is earned. It's not like in a normal military, because I used to be in the military like back in the 90s. I was in the military, and you get ranked by time. So if you're in there 5 years, you're set to get a certain rank.
Mhm,
When you're doing the work of the Lord, you can get your rank just based on the work that you do. So whether you're there 6 months, 2 years, you get your rank. So in New York, there's a lot of debating. I do a lot of debating. I mean, a lot of it. And I debated. I began doing work in Philadelphia, then doing work in New York, and then as I started doing debates and more of them, that's how I started earning the rank because I was doing a lot of work. So I built a lot of schools. I used to come down to Texas. Well, I still come down to Texas and Houston a lot. I started teaching class in Houston. I started doing work with brothers out in California, and then as I started doing that, I got raised up to the highest level of captain that I could have. Like the next rank for me would be general at that point. Yes, I've been doing work. Yeah,
and Captain he graced us out of his busy
I did.
schedule with a interview.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you. I feel
welcome.
so
You're
special.
welcome.
Okay, so I know that you guys also have some missions that you are working on as well, and I know that you had something that was going on with Haiti, then there's some stuff going on in
Mhm.
Texas. So give us some more insight into what the actual one, tell us what you guys defined as a mission, and then what are some of those things that you guys are working
Okay, so
on.
we look at pretty much every event that we do, we look at as a mission. Now, some are small missions, some are big missions. So like the food drives would technically in our realm of conversation would kind of be small because we're kind of used to doing it. So we have the format, we lay it out. And then there's things that pop up that are like missions because it's like we have to get this done. So the
Mhm.
part that you mentioned about with the Haitians was a couple years ago, the Haitians came to America to escape the oppression that they was going over in Haiti. And when they came over, of course, America wasn't letting them in because they're not their type of refugee. So they wasn't letting them in, and they was like under this bridge in Mexico. And so Captain Yatazak, who is in Houston, created a mission. And so the mission was, how can we get to Acuna? So Acuna is where they had the Haitians at. And so initially, so they gather all this food. I mean, I think we spent maybe $10,000 to do this. And so they had to get the food and the water and stuff like that. And so they tried going the border route. So they go to the Mexican border. When they get to the Mexican border, border patrols tell them, well, just give us the food and then we'll get it to them. That was an inadequate answer because they're saying like they need this stuff now because nobody was doing anything for them. Nobody was bringing them
Mhm.
food. Nobody was bringing them clothing. So one of the brothers in our school knew the route that the drug cartel would take to smuggle drugs into Mexico, I mean, into America from Mexico. This one it worked out for good. So he goes.
We not gonna ask how he
Yeah.
knew that. We're not gonna ask how
I
he
don't
knew.
ask. I said I don't even want to know. I don't want to know whatsoever. So so he takes the route, and when they drive the route, so now they get into Mexico with all the food and truck and stuff, but they can't find where this place is at. Because it's one thing to get in there, but none of them are from Mexico. It's like if I drive to Indiana, I don't know nothing about Indiana, so where do I know to go? So they ended up asking other Mexicans, like, hey, do you guys know where the Haitians, the Haitians that are under the bridge? He said, oh, you're talking about the guy under the bridge. And so they go, so
It was the
yeah,
accent. I'm
yeah. So
sorry.
I
It
was
was the
trying to do
accent. It
my
was
best.
very
I
accurate.
was
It was
trying to
very
trying to do my
accurate.
best. So they go, and then when they get under the bridge, they the hate, all the Haitians and stuff like that are there. And then the next problem they had is none of them spoke Creole. None of them spoke the language that the Haitians spoke.
Mhm.
So it's like, what do we do? So there's a brother in New York City where I'm in. I live in Jersey, but I run New York. And so the brother in New York that's Haitian, his name is Yatazar. What they ended up doing, which I thought was absolutely amazing, they called him on the phone and then attached the phone to a mic and a speaker and put the phone in the
Mm.
speaker. And so he starts speaking in their language, we're from this is our organization. We're here to feed and clothe y'all. We need y'all to get in line so that y'all can receive these goods. And he's doing all the talking in their language, and they got in line. Nobody was out of order. They was extremely orderly, and we was able to feed and clothe all of them in a line. I think the news came down, and talked and was asking, like why were we doing that? And that's the minority question. Like nobody else is caring about the minority, so we'll care for ourselves. We didn't ask for a handout from anybody. We didn't ask for monies from anybody. That was an event that we did where we got that and did it ourselves. And I thought it was utterly amazing to go into a foreign land that you've never been to talk to people that don't know the language, and then figure out a way to work the communication barrier. Because without the brother that could speak the language, they would have done it, but it would have been a lot of confusion because you got to work out what word means what. How do you say hello? How do you say get in line? How do you say diaper? How do you say water? So I thought that was like an absolutely amazing event. And so not only the Acuna one, but they also did it again in El Paso. So they do these missions down there in Texas where they're always finding some location, some place to go to where people are in need, and then providing that need. And that echoed throughout California, throughout New York. And so we present all of these type of missions, even in Buffalo, that I was saying, we'll be doing the same thing up there. So Thursday night, I'll be leaving to go Friday to go to Buffalo to provide food, clothing, and diapers and clothes to the people of Buffalo, because if we don't do it, nobody else would do it. So those are like the missions and the difference in missions. It's almost like that the missions down there were big, and so that's the only
Mhm.
thing that separates it, is like the level of work that we have to do, but they're all missions.
So my question that I was thinking of is when you guys are doing these missions, how do you educate people on we're doing this without asking you to convert to our religion, or we're doing this because this is who we are and this is what we're trying to spread for us as our religious beliefs and all of the values that we have. So how do you educate people? Because I know some people might feel a little leery because they see you guys come in, and I can tell you because I saw your posse at an
Said
event
posse, boy.
here, and they have on their whole,
God, the whole setup, the
paraphernalia.
headpieces, the armbands, and all that. Yep.
So, one, it can be a little
Mhm.
intimidating for someone if they are not prepared for that. And two, someone may feel, I guess, intimidated to receive what you guys are giving out, or maybe they don't want to come and get food or clothes because they think that they're going to have to convert to your school or the religion. So, how are you guys educating people like, hey, we are here as this group, we're helping you guys, we don't want anything back from you guys. If you want to learn more, you can, but we're just here to be the change that the world needs. How are you guys navigating that and educating people on that?
In one word, I would say with kindness, because like we do look intimidating. Some people have called us like they'll think, "Hey, you guys in a biker gang or something like that." We'll get that. We'll get a lot. And what I always
It could
notice,
be
right? And
though.
what I always notice everywhere I go, all it takes is them hearing us speak, because we'll say, hey, how you
Mm,
doing? You know, I'm such and such. We're here for this. Or if we open a door, or if a sister walks by, we say, hey, sis, how you doing? Or if a elder sister, we say, hey, how you doing? Like the kindness is what settles them at first. Because when you're looking at the
mm,
outside appearance, you're like, they got this on. These cats is crazy right here. They got to be crazy. They came outside dressed like this. But then when you're kind, the kindness throws them off because they're looking at us to
mhm,
be like these mean mugging evil cats, and then we like, hello, hey, can I give you some food? You want some food? You hungry? You want this? So
mhm,
all that we like, so we don't have to say, we don't necessarily say you don't have to join. We don't say you do have to join. We just let the work speak for itself, and usually that kindness generates the question, what are you guys? Like what are you guys doing? Like what are you about? Because I thought one way, but I'm speaking to you and you're not that way. So the work itself is the fishing mechanism, so to speak. The work itself is like after you stand out there. In New York City one time we had did this food drive for the migrants in New York City. Nobody was taking care of them. And I remember the police officer that we had to work with because they had sectioned off an area for us to do it. And the police officer comes and he says, I've never seen a more organized unit, and you guys are the only ones I saw that came and cared for these people. But when you look at it from the outset, it was probably, and for that event, it was probably like maybe 300 of us out there. So imagine 300 of us looking like what you saw
mhm.
that day.
Yeah, I'm gonna act right too. I'm gonna stay in line
But
too. Right.
now you're gonna act right too. But then when you say, you almost would look in that environment, you would probably look at us like a teddy bear in the sense that you're expecting us to be this extremely ferocious animal, but then we give you kindness. And so that kindness is
Mm,
probably the greatest fishing tool, because in a normal environment, like if we're on the street teaching, it ain't gonna come across as kindness because we're projecting our voice. So we're extremely aggressive. But that in those moments, it's not the time to be aggressive. We ain't about to say, hey, take this food and go
mm,
on about your way. What the hell are we doing if we do it like that? But if we say, hey sis, shalom, how you doing? Let me give you this food. Hey brother, oh, you need a size 12 or you need these pair of pants. And then as we do that, that's how we spark them into joining. And now we have our flyers, of course, that we hand out, but we don't walk in and say, like you said, you got to join us, you got to do that, because it got to be something you do on your own. And that's a fishing mechanism to get them to do it.
okay, I love that. I love that answer and detailing that. I just thought that was important as well because again, as you said, if you see you guys out, it's that way. And a lot of people sometimes don't want to accept help because they're like, so what do I
Hmm.
have to do if I accept this help? So I wanted to give
Thank
you
you.
a platform to say that. So okay, so to wrap up everything, now, if you have anyone that's interested in coming to the school to start learning about that, give us the information about how people can find you guys, how they can be a part of it, and also give us the information for those who maybe don't want to join the school and don't want to practice the learning, but they definitely think that you guys are doing something great and they want to support.
Thank you. I'll probably answer both with the same answer that I give. So anybody can just go to our website, isupk.com. And if you go to that website, you'll see a contact us and an about us link. When you hit the contact or about us link, it'll let you know which area. So, like, let's say if you're in Jersey, we got an area for that. If Indiana, Kentucky, Chicago, California, wherever it may be, we have a location within your area. Even if it's not in your exact city, it's in a zone close to you. And if you have clothing or any, you may, like you say, you may not want to join, but if you have something that you can give, it could be a donation, it could be clothes, it could be food, it can be whatever, because it's not for us, it's for the people. And so that's the easiest way that you can find us. You can find us right on our website, and that will, from the website, it'll just take you everywhere that you need to go. That's for somebody that wants to join, or even somebody that doesn't want to join but has something that they can contribute, because really that's where it starts. it starts from a conversation. Like we don't expect nobody to believe what we believe right away, but if you have a care for black people like we do, that's the start. Like that's the one true start that we can have, and then we could build and grow and work together from there. So that's what you can do.
And you guys are national,
Yeah, international. So we have a
internet.
school in the UK, we have school in
Okay.
the Caribbean islands, we have schools in South America. Like we're international, like that.
Okay. And they got you to talk to me. I feel so
Yeah,
special.
yeah, they did, they did.
I must be moving up in the world, boy. Every day I think I ain't
Yeah.
nobody, and somebody
Nah,
shows
you
me I
you
am.
definitely somebody because they hit me up. They say, yeah, you got to talk to the sister. She's got a real, ear for what she's trying to do. She's about her business. I said, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. That's not a problem.
That's me. That's all me. That's me too.
Hmm.
I ain't got a t-shirt or nothing, but I'll be doing some stuff too.
Hmm. We
I
can get
love
you a
that.
t-shirt. We can get you a t-shirt.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I told them to let me know if there's something going on in Houston as well, because I can, if there's a flyer or whatever. I mean, I can share it on my social media or whatever I can do to help. Because I believe in
I
just
know in
us.
September, no, no, I'm
Hmm.
sorry. In October, I know we're having a cookout. Like we do like an annual cookout because that's a way we help the community too, where we feed them for the day. So I know we're doing that in October in Houston because I'll be there. So
Okay,
that's what
for
we're
sure.
doing
What?
there. Mhm.
Hello, we cousins now. So
Yeah, that's why
like,
I'm saying. Listen, that's why I'm telling you. Like you said, you in Houston, we're having an event in
I
Houston.
expect VIP treatment now. I know
You
the
got it.
captain. Like I know the captain. Hello, don't be trying to put me in the back of the line. I want my plate first. Okay.
Not a problem. That should not be a problem at all.
Oh my god, I love it. I love it.